1919, May the 13th.
I was born in Harlan County, Kentucky.
I was born in Yukon, West Virginia.
In the teens and 20s, the large coal corporations of the world bought land here in McDowell County and knew that there were massive amounts of coal underneath the ground. And so they went to Ellis Island, they imported people from Eastern Europe, and they also went to the South. Particularly Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And from those areas, they brought African Americans to McDowell County.
My mother is Stella Partidge. And my father, Floyd Partridge. They were very wonderful parents. Both of them were Christians.
He was a so-called. I never took up on him because, see, he drank. And I didn't think preachers should drink. Although he was my father, but I wouldn't uphold him in wrongdoing. He was a preacher and he could preach, but he drank whiskey.
We had to do things as they wanted us to do. We were always obedient, and I think that's the reason why that we have lived as long as we have, because we were obedient to our parents.
I had one of the sweetest mothers in the world. The only thing I used to tell, I said, Mom, the only fault I found in you, I said, you didn't whip me enough. She never whipped me too much. She said I was a very obedient child.
He was a very strict man, too, with his children, very strict. Yeah. There were certain things that we could not do, and if we did them, we were punished for it. And the punishment wasn't so good.
And he sent people out to check on us, to see what we were doing. Sometimes we would just walk around the curbs, either railroad track or upper. If we were on the railroad track, they were up on the highway looking down to make sure we didn't get into anything.
When I was about 6, I went to elementary. I started in elementary school. And we went there, I went there until I graduated from high school. It was a very nice school and people were so nice. Everybody seemed like family.
We were rather poor people, and they gave us lunch without charge. We had lima beans, pinto beans, white beans, and sometimes we called, I think, the shell horse beans. So anyway, we've got familiar with every type bean there was. And our home economics teacher was a lovely person, and she knew that we needed help, and she gave us, well, I was the only one that liked cocoa, I think. Most of them didn't want the beans and they didn't want the cocoa.
When I was in high school, I was very fond of basketball and football also as a cheerleader. So I was one of the cheerleaders there. We enjoyed going to the games and marching and that type thing, and especially turning the baton, because I was very good with the baton.
I had an average of 95 in all of my subjects, so they said I didn't have to take the final examination unless I wanted to.
As the influx of African American coal miners was needed for the growing coal mine industry, the only way that the coal barons could be guaranteed of a solid workforce for years to come was to try to find a way to create and cultivate teachers for their sons and daughters to ensure them a better life than their coal mining dads had had. So they had to come up with a school in the southern part of the state that would educate the teachers to go back and educate the children of coal miners in that era of segregation.
Came to Washington, D.C. in 1944. I came, I already had my job.
Ozora passed an exam, and she had a job waiting for her for the Veterans Administration.
I was very excited because we were coming on the train to D.C.
Before I got to Washington, I had to go to where my father was working, and I went there and worked. I sold hot dogs in order to get money enough to come to D.C. And my sister Ozora, the one that I'm taking care of now, had come a few months before we came.
She had only one room at first, and we all at first, one slept on the floor, then some nights one would sleep in the bed. So that was at first when it was not cold, but then after it got colder, we had to get an apartment. So we got an apartment and they all lived there.
They all lived with me in my apartment until they became established.